Hello, hello, and welcome to my thought on this lovely, wet, messy Thursday in London. Um, I I love children. Everybody knows I love children, but I also love how they take things so literally that what you say is what they think you mean. And the weather has been very warm lately, and I am reminded of the time that I was I used to do weekly shopping when I lived in Oregon, Ohio, because I lived many miles from the grocery store, and I would do weekly shopping, and I would buy a great deal of things all at once. And this was a very hot August day in right outside Toledo, Ohio, and the Midwestern summers they kill you, they cook you. And I had quite a few groceries. And this little boy had bought an ice cream bar, but he knew that his mommy said he was not allowed to eat it until he paid for it. So he stood there with this ice cream bar in this torrid weather. And in those days, the grocery stores did not have air conditioning. And I bought a week's worth of groceries with my staples, with my laundry soap and my dish soap and some cosmetic things, some Kleenex and some uh, uh, wax paper, which we used then. And it just took really a long time. And in those days, you didn't bag your groceries, especially in America. The clerk bagged it for you, and it must have taken a good 45 minutes to get me all bagged up and then carry my groceries out to my car. And when I turned to look at this little boy, his eyes were filled with tears because his ice cream bar had melted, and there was nothing left when he paid for it, and it broke my heart. After that, whenever I stand in line, I always let anybody that only has one package um, go ahead of me, because I will never forget the look on that little boy's face when he waited so patiently, doing the right thing by not eating that ice cream bar until he had paid for it. But one more story about children taking things literally that also touched my heart. Um, when I there was a little girl in England, and I don't remember what little town it was, that decided to sell lemonade um, outside her door. And she set up a little table and she set up the lemonade and she put a little sign, lemonade 5p. And the one of the city mothers, whose name I'm sure was Karen, came up to her and said, "You didn't get a license and you're going to be fined." And they fined her something like 25 pounds. And she came home and she said to her daddy, "I did a bad thing. I didn't know I did a bad thing." And of course, uh, the neighbors got up in arms and they refunded the money, and she was able to sell her lemonade. But that reminded me of when I was in Pacifica, and these two little girls had set up their lemonade stand, and it was so adorable that I decided to write a story about it for the Pacifica Tribune. So I wrote the story, and then they got their pictures in the paper. And the little girls were absolutely elated, absolutely elated. They got new dresses for their photo, and they were so thrilled that they had successfully been successful entrepreneurs that were featured in the Pacifica Tribune. So the thing was that nobody asked them if they had a license. Nobody asked them if they were allowed to sell things. All we knew was that these were absolutely adorable little girls who had decided to make lemonade and sell it to others. And I think that is a wonderful tradition. So I wonder whether maybe we don't realize when we tell children yes and no, and that is good and that is bad, that children don't see things in black and white, don't see things in gray. They see things in black and white. And one more story. When I was teaching school, when I was teaching school in Brookline, Massachusetts, I was teaching in an Irish district. And St. Patrick's Day is a very big holiday for Irish people. And I was teaching in a slum school, poverty school in Brookline, Massachusetts, which is has the highest income of any community in the United States still. But this was their poverty school. It was a slum school. It's called Pierce Primary School, and there was a little boy there named Kevin. And every morning before Kevin came to school, he would stop at a corner cafe and buy his mother coffee and a donut, and then take it up to his mother, and then come to school. And on Fridays, Kevin never came to school because his mother wrote me and said I have to wash his jeans. Why she couldn't wash them on Saturday, I don't know, but I have to wash his jeans. And so he doesn't have any pants to wear because they were that poor. And he had one pair of jeans that he could wear. And on St. Patrick's Day, Kevin came and gave me a little present on St. Patrick's Day, and it was uh, a little hanky with a green ribbon on it. And I thanked him. And the next day, Kevin came to school and he had a black eye. And I did not understand why until much later when I visited them. And I realized that what had happened is that Kevin had taken the money that his mother had given him to get the coffee and donut and had gotten me a hanky for St. Patrick's Day because he loved me and he wanted to show me that I was special. And I have never forgotten that gift. And there again was a child who paid for breaking a rule because his mother had given him money and said, "You get me coffee and a donut." And of course, he didn't get her coffee and a donut. He didn't come home with the coffee and donut, and she waited till he came home from school, and then she smacked him. Um, but that is, to me, it's a very heartwarming story because children love in the most beautiful, beautiful way ever because there are no strings attached. Would that adults loved that way as well. And I'm going to leave you with that thought on this Thursday. And thank you so much for joining me.